Story 1. For me, it was a coworker who kept saying he made the best hamburgers, bar none. I thought, it is just a hamburger. Then I ate my words and two more hamburgers right after. Story 2. Maybe not the last thing, but a while ago I was at a family reunion for my wife's family and tried some kind of casserole. I forget exactly what it was. It didn't seem special, but I stopped and said out loud, "Who made this?" It was my wife's uncle, and it was really good. Story 3. I was in Phoenix when a local recommended a place called the Fry Bread House. It is a small, unassuming spot that is also a James Beard Award winner. The tacos are the best I have ever experienced. It is like eating paradise and sending your taste buds to a spa. Story 4. Tomato soup in an intensive care unit. I was in the middle of a myasthenic crisis, where my immune system was attacking my body and shutting down my respiratory muscles, among others. I lost the ability to swallow food and liquids safely, and was kept nothing by mouth for a little over 3 days while receiving intravenous fluids and medications. The first thing I was allowed was a small amount of tomato soup. It was the best soup I have ever had. Story 5. I was very intoxicated the other day and bit into a dark chocolate Tim Tam. 10 out of 10 best thing I have ever tasted in my life. Transcendental. Story 6. I make amaretto French toast with homemade Swedish vanilla almond bread, plus grilled Canadian bacon. Delicious. Story 7. I just discovered an Italian bakery near where I live, and they have a raspberry cake that is pure heaven. Story 8. I made pork saltimbocca. I fried extra sage leaves and scattered them on top. It was exceptional, and I do not remember many things I have ever made that are exceptional. Story 9. Dilly donut from a food truck in Liberty State Park 2 weeks ago. I was hungry, and it was 12 o'clock, but it was like a party in my mouth and everyone was invited. Story 10. Saffron chicken risotto. I was at an Italian restaurant with my family and did not want pasta. I had never tried risotto before and was pleasantly surprised. Story 11. Last week I tried cooking something a little different. I wanted to make some fresh green beans, and I usually steam them or air fry. I decided to sauté them in a skillet with butter and garlic this time. This was a game changer. The only way I will ever cook them going forward. I think next time I will try adding some onion and mushroom too. Story 12. I recently had a Shake Shack burger for the first time. I flew to Dallas from Dublin, and there was a Shake Shack at the airport. I was not expecting it to be good, but it was very great. Story 13. Korean hot chicken biscuit from a place called Biscuit Love. I wish it was not a limited time special because I would eat that every time I went there. Story 14. I had some wild boar tagliatelle at a restaurant in Reims last fall. I dream about this meal. It was incredible. Story 15. Mushu pork, the first time I ever had it, and I had the munchies pretty bad. My date said I needed to be quieter about it or we might get kicked out. Story 16. A grocery store birthday cake. It was plain vanilla decorated in transgender flag colors, so I had to get it. I wasn't expecting it to taste so good, but it was delicious. Story 17. Sam is in Los Angeles. They have a burger with pastrami that my husband made me try, and it was amazingly good. Damn, I should book a flight. Story 18. Corn ribs at Stellar Hog in St. Louis, butterscotch sundae at Keen's. The second is the most recent, but the first was the most memorable. Story 19. I smoked a catfish fillet over pecan wood this weekend, then flaked it onto Trader Joe's pita crackers. Oh boy. Story 20. I went to a sausage restaurant in Dallas one time, and they had sausage and mashed potatoes. I almost died when I tasted the gravy. It was so good. Story 21. My best friend and I went to my favorite restaurant for an impromptu dinner. Every dish that came out looked and tasted so good, it felt unreal. I was starting to feel delirious. When we got the lamb roast, I went to cut some for them and barely touched it with the knife when the meat literally fell off the bone. We both just lost it and broke out laughing at how perfectly cooked it was. So good. Story 22. Weirdly enough, a burger in the restaurant at the Premier Inn at Gatwick had that charred flavor. Like it had actually come off someone's back garden barbecue. Delicious. Story 23. I was flying Delta Airlines. I love the Biscoff cookies, and when I found out I could buy them at the store, I had to practice restraint. This time they had Biscoff vanilla sandwich cookies, and they were very good. Story 24. Wagyu filet cooked on cast iron with butter and roasted garlic. Better than any steak I have had at a restaurant. Story 25. I have been dieting strictly for months. I snuck a pack of cookie dough into our shopping cart and hid it when we got home. I made a pan of cookies at midnight last night. Damn. Story 26. Just came back from vacation in Romania. Ate grilled chicken with sour cherry sauce. I was skeptical, but I told my boyfriend I would eat local cuisine at every opportunity, so I took a chance. Holy hell. Words do not do it justice. Delicious. Story 27. Some grilled vegetables. I've been working on a recipe, and the last batch I made was my best yet. Squash, red and green peppers, red onion, mushrooms, and garlic. The garlic is sliced to about 1/8 of an inch thick using the full bulb. I use Tuscan olive oil and a corn on the cob seasoning, accent seasoning which contains monosodium glutamate, umami, and Italian seasoning with dried parsley, oregano, and basil. I have also used salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder instead of corn on the cob seasoning. I have vegetable cookers for the grill. I start by grilling them on the gas grill to get a light char, then transfer them to the charcoal grill for 5 minutes after removing the meat from the charcoal while the meat is resting. It's excellent. Story 28. Home grub. The toasted avocado and baby Swiss on Dave's good seed bread with a sprinkle of garlic powder, salt, and black pepper that I made this morning. Restaurant grub. The Divinia tangerine and chili olives we had as a snack at the pub. Damn. Story 29. I have made pasta salad and added a dash of fish sauce and a tablespoon of lemon olive oil. We could live on that pasta salad. Story 30. I never had a meal that I thought was a wow experience. However, there have been times when I asked for seconds. Story 31. An old family recipe soup my brother made for my birthday. It is similar to potato soup with dumplings, but contains a lot of celery and celery seed. I ate 2 large bowls and was very full. I even got to keep the leftovers. Story 32. My mom's sour bean soup has a completely different flavor than any other soup. It includes vinegar, dumplings, sour cream, potatoes, butter, and fresh green beans. It may sound unusual, but friends from my childhood still ask me about it. Story 33. The first time I had nafe was a few years ago. A close second was the next few times. It is a Middle Eastern dessert of finely shredded phyllo dough baked around a mild white cheese, then topped with a light, sweet syrup just before serving. The tiny crisp crunches, savory richness of the melted cheese, and light sweetness merge into a perfect harmony of deliciousness. I hear some use a sweet rose water syrup, but fortunately, I don't like eating floral smells. The one I had was just a light sweet syrup, possibly with a hint of citrus. Story 34. I made a pineapple mango salsa the other day that was so good. I am going to make it all summer for poultry and pork. Story 35. Saw that Burger King had added chicken Caesar salad burgers to their menu, so I made my own. Turns out Caesar salad is amazing on a chicken burger. Story 36. If you are at Walt Disney World right now, make sure you do not miss the chocolate raspberry mousse at Satchely Canteen in Animal Kingdom. I love to eat, and that is my favorite thing I have eaten in a long time. It was the best taste of the trip, and we dined at some of the more expensive places. Story 37. A cooked banana in the Philippines. They use a different kind of banana for cooking, and it is very tasty. Story 38. I found a taqueria in the Atlanta area suburbs, serving the best Mexican food I have had outside of Oaxaca. Story 39. My girlfriend's brother is a culinary school dropout. He cooks at home while I stay over the summers. Every dish that he puts in front of me deserves that reaction. Story 40. There is a local burger restaurant that had a brisket blend burger. It was the best tasting burger I have had in over 20 years. If you want to know the best burger ever, it was at a golf match at the Westchester Country Club in New York. Tasted like it was cooked on a smoker. Story 41. There was a firecracker salmon dish at Firebird's semi-recently, and it was great. I planned to try to recreate it the next time I went, but it is no longer on their menu. So many flavors packed into one dish. Story 42. When I figured out how to make good scrambled eggs, it was so simple yet made such a difference. They were so good that I made them again the next day, and they were just as perfect. Story 43. Last month, I created a gluten-free sourdough starter. It is still very young, but I have been experimenting with sourdough focaccia while it matures. My most recent pan of focaccia is crispy on the outside, airy on the inside, and tastes delicious. I cannot eat gluten due to a familial celiac condition, so I have not eaten sourdough or focaccia before now. That means I will never know how this bread compares to traditional focaccia made with gluten, but it is much better than the overpriced gluten-free breads from the grocery store. Story 44. I was on a scenic train from Puno to Cusco, Peru. I ordered a vegetarian option and was served this quinoa salad. I still think about that salad, and I wish I could get the recipe. I ate many quinoa salads elsewhere in the country before leaving, hoping I would find the same, but never did. Story 45. The macaroni and cheese at my favorite sports bar is incredibly delicious. I swear they put something addictive in it. Story 46. Chicken latalamono from a Greek restaurant just this last Thursday. I had never had it before, and it caught me off guard how delicious it was. Story 47. Went to Top Spice in Atlanta and had the spicy catfish. I honestly cried. Ask my boyfriend. It was my first time having catfish. Story 48. I asked my family to go to the fanciest restaurant in town for our mutual birthday. Everything there cost $40 to $50 per plate and was worth it. The waitstaff were slow and lazy. Story 49. Yakmine at Red Rooster in New Orleans is a Creole Asian fusion dish that has been a local secret for decades as a hangover cure. Story 50. I got a combo sampler from Applebee's after a 19-hour travel day. That was amazing. Story 51. Yesterday I made the poorest quality chicken salad of all time and had very low expectations. When I said it, it was more like, holy cow, this is good? Then I ate 2 chicken salad sandwiches. Story 52. For my wife's birthday, I made a special dinner. Pan-roasted duck breast with potatoes fried in duck fat and red wine-braised cabbage with cranberries. While the duck and potatoes were, of course, very good, the cabbage stole the show. It was so good. Story 53. A creamy green sauce or dip at a local Mexican restaurant. I went through an entire bag of chips with that. So delicious. Story 54. Shrimp and grits at a seafood restaurant in Wilmington, North Carolina. I didn't like grits before, but now I make them at home every month. Story 55. Chimichurri marinated grilled chicken and a couscous salad with feta, Kalamata olives, shallots, cherry tomatoes, and a bit of chimichurri sauce on top. All herbs, tomatoes, chicken, and feta were locally sourced or from the garden. It was delicious. Story 56. I made this the other day. It is one of the best things I have ever eaten. Recipe: tin eats cheese, herb and garlic quick bread. Story 57. We just went out to Texas Roadhouse for our anniversary. I had chicken with portobello mushrooms and cheese, served with mashed potatoes. Those were the best mashed potatoes I have ever tasted, and the chicken was very good too. Story 58. I made a chocolate cake for my husband's birthday last week. I tried a new recipe for the buttercream, and it was heavenly. Story 59. Breakfast burrito I just made and ate for lunch. Before that, the dip I made for Dungeons and Dragons last night. I say it a lot. I do not waste my time on food that is not good. Story 60. A recipe from Facebook, believe it or not. Crispy rice patties with a shrimp salad made of Kewpie mayonnaise, sriracha, soy sauce, green onions, and jalapeno on top, finished with avocado. Story 61. I was once served a glass of 1965 Macallan. I involuntarily giggled with every sip. Super delicious, super embarrassing. Story 62. Texas barbecue in San Antonio from the barbecue station. I have eaten a lot of meat cooked every way you can cook it. That is the best brisket I have ever had. Story 63. Last night, I had a McDouble. It satisfied every craving as I ate it. Never in a million years did I think that something from McDonald's would have me gushing about it. It was the perfect heat and condiments. Story 64. I went to a local restaurant and got fresh bread with garlic and olive oil to dip it in. It was the best bread I have ever had. I ate the entire loaf because my dining partner was my gluten-intolerant best friend, so he could not have enjoyed it with me even if he wanted to. Story 65. Having celiac disease, finding a decent, safe restaurant is not only a challenge but often impossible. Nice restaurants do not exist in my area, so my only opportunity for more upscale dining comes while traveling. Thanks to the application Find Me Gluten-Free, which is similar to Yelp for people with celiac disease, I have found some great places to eat while out in the world. This week, I visited San Diego and tried Malibu Farms and Wolf in the Woods. These were two of the best meals I have had in a long time. Story 66. Mellow Mushroom had a limited-time pizza called the Steakhouse. From the menu, Steakhouse Pizza, the steak and mushroom pizza starts with an olive oil and garlic base and is topped with grilled ribeye steak, roasted shiitake, button and portobello mushrooms, creamy mozzarella, caramelized onions, and spicy pickled peppers. It is finished with chives and a garlic aioli drizzle. I am not even a big fan of mushrooms, but I saved the description above because of how good it was, knowing it was for a limited time. Story 67. My roommate made some peppered steak. It not only made me say it out loud, but also made me do that thing where you close your eyes and moan about it. That dish was to die for. Story 68. I make that chicken at least once a month, more in the summer. It never fails to impress with how delicious it is. The key is to cook it very hot in cast iron or on a grill. My infrared grill gets extremely hot, and I can finish it in 20 minutes with a perfect crisp slice char that takes it over the top. Use it in a burrito with other Chipotle recipes at home, or improvise. My personal favorite is to make a bruschetta mix of fresh diced tomatoes, red onion, and basil. Dress with extra virgin olive oil, quality red wine vinegar, salt, pepper, and a dash of sugar. Let sit for a few hours to meld the flavors. Toss salad greens, diced chipotle chicken, bruschetta mix, and a crumble of feta in a bowl and stuff in a whole wheat pita half. Nothing else is needed except maybe a drizzle of olive oil and a lemon wedge. Just a heavenly pita pocket stuffed with quality healthy ingredients. Story 69. Steamed lobster. I was craving it badly. It's something I don't normally order because I only like Maine lobster, and steaming one seems to confuse a lot of kitchens. My husband suggested we try Red Lobster. We had not been there in over 8 years. I was hesitant because I had only ordered lobster there once, and it was overcooked and not a Maine lobster. I could tell by the color and texture. Well, I decided to go for it, and it was divine. Perfectly steamed, super tender, buttery, and definitely a Maine lobster. I am pretty sure my eyes rolled back in my head. Way to go, Red Lobster. Story 70. I think it is called The Parlor in Kansas City. I ate a burger there at one of the independent vendor stands. It had feta cheese, fig jam, and garlic aioli, and it was the best thing I have ever eaten. Story 71. Did kebabs last night with stewing beef, peppers, mushrooms, and red onion. The beef was marinated in olive oil and garlic. Turned out really well. Story 72. My wife just said that about the Kirkland brand lager we picked up from Costco. She was hesitant because years ago I bought a Kirkland beer that only said light beer on the can, as if it were a television show, but this one is a lager made by Deschutes Brewery. Story 73. It was not quite like that, but I was nearly attacked by a group of bearded women for telling my wife that a piece of halibut was good enough for Jehovah. Story 74. Made a citrus lemon chicken using juiced lemon, oranges, limes, and a few other ingredients. Added it to pasta cooked with garlic paste, duck paste, and thyme with a splash of cream. The complexity of the flavor profile was surprising. Did not expect it to come out so well. Story 75. The Korean chicken rice bowl sitting in front of me right now is from the restaurant at the resort where I work. Thank God for employee discounts. Story 76. If you are ever in San Diego, there is a sandwich shop called Grove Grinders. I ordered the smoked ribeye. I have not had a sandwich that made me loudly say, "God damn!" Story 77. Our cook at work made tri-tip sandwiches for the monthly special. Smoked tri-tips served medium rare on a pretzel bun with horseradish sauce, grilled peppers, and red onion. I do not like red onion and I do not eat much red meat anymore, but I would eat that sandwich every day. Story 78. Any recipe using gochujang is excellent. Bonus points if it is by Eric Kim. I have never made a recipe from him that was not a 10 out of 10, and he has especially never missed with a gochujang recipe. Story 79. I do not usually brag about my cooking in public, but this is literally the most recent thing I have eaten that made me say how good it was out loud. Fried chicken wings. I do not even usually like wings that much, but these were very good. Story 80. A few weeks ago, I made a meal prep meal for the week. I basically tried to make a taco bowl out of what I had in the fridge. For a remarkably simple meal, it was one of the best meals I had in a long time. That was a good week to eat. Story 81. Mole enchiladas while visiting Mexico City. I have had good mole in the United States, but it just tastes different south of the border. Story 82. The spicy crispy chicken ranchero burrito that Taco Bell recently introduced tastes like something you would get from your favorite local lunch counter. I cannot remember the last time anything from a fast food restaurant tasted this good. Story 83. A lamb and beef meatloaf with mashed potatoes and roasted carrots. That was very good. Story 84. The first time I tried a charcoal grilled rib, I steak with a piece of blue cheese on the side. It was mind-blowing and extra delicious with the Cabernet I was drinking. Heaven on earth. Plus, my uncle who suggested it laughed out loud when I said, "This is so good." Story 85. My wife made a chicken and rice bowl with a lote recently. Seriously, one of the best dishes I have ever eaten. So delicious. Story 86. Spaghetti all'assassina is a very simple recipe, and I was not expecting the absolute explosion of flavor. We had it with grilled lobster tails in a gremolata marinade, and it was excellent. Story 87. A bowl of chicken noodle soup in a diner in Gardiner, Montana in 1989. I had road jitters when we arrived and didn't think I could eat. That soup was heaven in a bowl. I ate too. Story 88. Recently moved to a new city and tried an enchilada from a local Mexican restaurant the day after we arrived. I had been having stomach issues and barely ate on moving day to avoid getting sick. Day 2 was busy unpacking and trying to find our essentials. By the time dinner rolled around, all I had was some juice. I was so excited for dinner and the fact I would not have to figure out how to cook in an apartment that still looked like a disaster. When I say this enchilada fed my very soul, I am not joking. It was incredibly good, so authentic, so flavorful, with a perfect combination of textures. I felt revived after that enchilada. I was even able to keep it down and keep working well into the night. Thank goodness for Latin food. Story 89. Salmon in a homemade marinade. Served with lemon pepper rice. I cooked it myself, mostly self-taught. I tend to improvise on recipes I have seen in the past and only measure the rice and water ratio. Story 90. Brown shimeji mushrooms. I do not even like mushrooms. These are in a class of their own. They actually have flavor that adds to the food. They are delicious. They do not taste like regular mushrooms at all. Story 91. I do not know his name or what he looked like, but the person poked through the hole in the bathroom wall. To be polite and not inflate his ego, I waited to say that out loud until he left. Story 92. My wife, who for years made an excellent red enchilada, decided to try making a green enchilada. There were no words to describe how good it was. Even after 45 years, she manages to surprise me. Story 93. Vampire Apothecary in New Orleans. The crab toast with caviar. I am not typically a huge seafood fan, but that dish was excellent. Story 94. The other day, I had a meal prepared by someone else in a kitchen I did not have to clean. Good God, that was amazing. Story 95. After my second knee surgery, I had an overnight stay. For dinner that night, it was meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green beans, and green gelatin with pear halves. In Utah, green gelatin is a staple for church events, but this was something I really enjoyed. So much so that I had my wife make it for me when I got home. She still makes it for me from time to time. Story 96. Brownie ice cream. It is hot outside right now and I wanted brownies, but it is hot. So, I found brownie ice cream, and it was everything I needed and more. Story 97. On my birthday, I went to a ramen place in the city I live in. One of those places where the staff leave you alone and only come when you buzz them. One of those solo-friendly dining places. By God, it was good. Soy-marinated egg that was perfectly cooked. Firm outside, jammy inside, perfectly seasoned. Crispy pork belly chips that shattered when bitten into. Perfectly salty and porky. Pickled vegetables that were beyond refreshing. The broth itself was amazing. So much umami packed into one bowl that I had to force myself not to just drink it while scalding hot. I even got a side order of 5-spice potatoes. Chunky potatoes that were par-cooked, then deep-fried before serving, seasoned with salt and Chinese 5-spice. It was a very good meal. Story 98. Yesterday, I made bruschetta for cocktail hour from my own tomatoes and basil that I am growing on my deck. That got a very strong positive reaction. Then for dinner, I made homemade Vietnamese sandwich from my own pickled vegetables. We were a little tipsy by then, but they received an even stronger positive reaction. Story 99. I work in a recovery house where 2 trained and experienced chefs run the kitchen. We just ate some beef made in the slow cooker that was excellent. I used the word stellar when complimenting him. It was very good. Story 100. My neighbor from Puerto Rico came by with a plate of food because she saw me working in the yard all day and knew I would not have the energy to cook. I have never tasted anything so delicious. I had to stop eating after a couple of bites and come back to it later when I was not starving because I genuinely wanted to enjoy the mix of flavors, spices, and textures. Story 101. I asked Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer for an easy, delicious sautéed chicken recipe and then requested a quick pan sauce to finish it. Everyone was impressed. It was the best chicken I have ever cooked. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.